Carolyn Lebauer. She was a lady of grace, a lady of intelligence, a lady who had a sense of humor, a lady who loved both art and horticulture. Her garden was a delight for those people who got to see it. She was a true, quiet leader of our city, and she loved Greensboro. She loved Greensboro, and she demonstrated it by giving this wonderful gift from her estate that will build the Maurice and Carolyn Lebauer Park. She gave that gift in March. The gift came to the Community Foundation rather in March of 2012 when she passed away. Ever since then, the Community Foundation has worked very hard to fulfill her vision and her wishes for the creation of an outstanding public park in the city of Greensboro. When it is completed in the spring of 2016, the Community Foundation will transfer that park to the city of Greensboro, where it will be your asset to enjoy forever. The Community Foundation understood from the start that this was a huge gift that meant a huge responsibility. So we undertook the process that has brought us today here very carefully and very deliberately. Walker Sanders, head of the Community Foundation, wisely said that we should begin by deciding what the park should be at the end. We should look at the programming for the park, the needs of the community, and in essence, work backwards from there. And that's what we did. With Walker's help and leadership, we assembled a cross-section of the community to hear their ideas about what they wanted to see, what they wanted to do, what they wanted to enjoy in this new park. That was a long process, but a very valuable process because we learned a lot from it. And with that, we were able to put together the programming elements that then drove the design of the park. I want to emphasize that sometimes it's done the other way around. Sometimes you have a piece of land and you say, well, let's do this here or let's do that there, and just start building. We didn't do that in this case because we didn't think that was the right approach. So we spent a long time assessing the needs. The other thing that we did in putting together a steering committee that reflected the entire city and gave the entire city a voice in this, and I'm very proud of this. The other thing that we did was we didn't confine ourselves to what we could see by looking around just in our city or even in our state. We took it upon ourselves to visit the best parks in the United States, to learn about the best parks everywhere, and to engage people who truly had big visions and expertise, national expertise and experience in helping build great parks. With that help, which included, by the way, a lot of local people, sometimes we don't remember this, but there are people in Greensboro who are national leaders in their field. So when I say national vision and looking all across the country, a lot of those people were people right here in the city of Greensboro that we were able to call on. With their help, we have come to what you're going to see in a few minutes. And this park, I promise you, consistent with Carolyn Lebauer's vision, who was a person who looked forward, this is not your grandmother's park. This is something different. This is a unique urban park that is going to set Greensboro apart in a lot of great ways. It's going to attract attention from a lot of places, and I think that's important to us. Among the features of the park, and this is the kind of thing that courageous, thoughtful gifts like Carolyn Lebauer's gift will do, this has sparked other gifts, most notably from the Edward M. Armfield Sr. Foundation. There is a $1 million gift to build an iconic sculpture within the park. And that gift wouldn't have happened without Carolyn Lebauer's gift, but look at what's added to it and what we're now going to have in Greensboro as a result of that. So thank you, and we should thank and give some applause here to the Edward M. Armfield Senior Foundation. I think Cheryl Stewart. Oh, I see Mindy is here. Yes, great. Oh, and Adair. Stand up, please. Thank you, Adair, and thank you, Mindy. This is so meaningful to Greensboro, and it's just going to really make this park vibrant and sing. Thank you so much for that. All right, now, 3 things that the park I think is going to do for us. First, as I said, it's going to be an example for the entire country. It's going to be one of an example of how to do things right, from the planning through the design, through the execution, and through the activities that you'll see here. It's going to rightly bring new attention to our city, and it's going to add to the list of reasons why industry and people who create jobs are going to want to locate in Greensboro. I think that's important. Second, the park is going to be a great connector. It's going to connect, and Ken Mayer, who's an architect that's helped us with this, has been a strong advocate of this from the start. It's going to connect a lot of our cultural assets in the downtown. It's going to connect the Stephen Tanger Performing Arts Center, Center City Park, the Greensboro Cultural Arts Center, the Greensboro Public Library, the Greensboro Historic Museum, and really help us have this great cultural district that we've wanted to have in Greensboro for a long time. It's going to be fantastic, and it's going to do that. But third, I will tell you what I think is most important, and that is this is going to be a park that is the most popular, most exciting destination in Greensboro. And I'm excited about it because every day you're going to see people laughing, playing, singing, having fun, learning, and relaxing in this place in our downtown. That really excites me and makes me so grateful for Carolyn Lebauer's gift. So tomorrow, we break ground at a ceremony at 11 o'clock. Everybody is invited to that. It will be at the side of the park. If you still need directions about how to get there, ask any of us. We'll show you. And with that, I'd like to welcome and bring forward Nathan Elliott. This guy is a genius. He has done a great job for us, and he's going to tell you more about the park right now. Thank you.
All right, well, I hope that I can live up to the introduction that I've just gotten. My name is Nathan Elliott. I'm a principal landscape architect with the Office of James Burnett. We're a 45-person firm with 3 offices, Houston, Boston, and I'm based in San Diego. And for the past 6 years, I've been really fortunate to travel across the country and work in American cities designing urban parks that really help invigorate the context and bring life back into the heart of downtown areas. Really excited. I think there's some amazing things happening in Greensboro right now. Particularly, I'm continually impressed by the collaboration between city government and by all the nonprofits and all the players here in the town. Most of the times when we travel places, everyone is very much concerned with their own little sphere of influence. And in Greensboro, I've just been blown away by the collaboration and the spirit of everyone trying to pull together and make this a special park in Carolyn's memory. So I'll talk a little bit about the project. As Reed talked about a little bit, we're surrounded by these amazing cultural assets. You've got the new Stephen Tanger Performing Arts Center that'll be built on a slightly delayed timeline a little bit after Lebauer Park. You've got the Historical Museum, the cemetery, the library, the Cultural Arts Center. You've got the parking garage, the Children's Museum. There's amazing assets surrounding this park. The only thing that was really missing was to build something that would really attract people. So one of the first major urban design moves that we've done is we're proposing the realignment of Bellmead Street. Bellmead, you can see the sort of the former alignment here. This is going to allow the Stephen Tanger Performing Arts Center to get a little closer. This is really going to help engender a lot of cross traffic between the 2 sites, make the park really the core of this downtown cultural arts district. From this long axis on Bellmead that sets up the main performing event lawn, this is the Price Bryan Performance Place. That starts with Market Square on the western side along Davie, and that includes a food and beverage pavilion, restrooms, and an urban plaza. They'll support a wide variety of program activities. As you move out into the lawn is capped by the Armfield sculpture. That's going to be developed by Janet Eckelman, who's out of Boston. She's an incredibly imaginative sculptor. She does amazing work. This will be, I believe, her 3rd U.S. installation. And at the termination of that long view down Bellmead is the Performance Pavilion, and it'll be a 1,500 square foot pavilion that will support a wide variety of events. It's intended to be both an intimate gathering space in the day, but also support a number of small to medium-sized concerts. So you can have kind of movies in the park, musical events of all different stripes. And it's in addition to the sort of day-to-day programming that Reed alluded to, which would be sort of things like fitness classes and community events, all sorts of things. So really, it's intended to be a 24/7 activity spot. As you move further down Davie Street, you've got an interactive water feature plaza here, located just a catty corner from Center City Park. That opens up into a children's garden, and the children's garden is going to be a place where anywhere from small children and 2 to 5 to kind of bigger kids and 5 to 12, and even if you have an adventurous teenager who's not too embarrassed to be seen with their parents. But it'll offer a lot of different kinds of enrichment activities, from things to do playing with motor skills, areas for socialization, and then some pretty imaginative play areas. As you continue eastward into the park, there's actually a dog park tucked in back here in the eastern corner here by the downtown library. In the past couple of years, what we found is the dog park is actually one of the most important elements in urban parks. You may not get your kids out to play maybe even once a day, but the dog is going to get walked 2, 3, maybe 4 times. And it's a great layer of security. Even into the evening, it helps make, you just have people and have eyes on the park. It helps make it just a much better place. And then as you get over to the eastern portion of the park, we've got Lebauer Gardens, which is intended to be a more quiet, contemplative, reflective space, which have an amazing garden, sort of think the Lurie Garden in central Chicago at Millennium Park. And this would be opportunity for sort of small, intimate group activities, or if you just want to have a cup of coffee and enjoy your time in the gardens on a quiet afternoon. And then adjacent to the downtown library, we'll have a reading room. It'll be very similar to the reading room in Bryant Park in New York. There'll be carts or kiosks that'll have periodicals and books so that if you're just on your lunch break, you're just passing through the park, you can sit down and set a table of chairs, read a book or magazine, put it back in the cart, and go about your way. That'll also have some sort of overlap and sort of programming activities with the downtown library, so there could be things like authors readings, book clubs, any sort of activities like that. As you get a little bit further on the south, there's a long east-west promenade that connects the park from east to west, but be a small area, games area, kind of commensurate with this whole idea about programming the park, that there'll be areas where you might have ping pong or foosball or chess and checkers available, so you can just check out a board or check out a set of paddles and come in and play with your friends or play a pickup game. There's also some very exciting developments with the Cultural Arts Center. We're looking at integrating with that building and making sure there's a seamless indoor-outdoor connection there. And then on what we're calling the South Lawn, there's a little bit more of that sort of games and activity program. It's a smaller 5,000 square foot lawn compared to the 17,000 square foot lawn, which is the main event lawn. So it's a slightly smaller event, more of the kind of 1,200 to 1,500 people in terms of capacity. But this could be for a variety of small concerts, corporate events, other sort of private events you could rent the space out for. There's also a couple of other amenities here, including a food service kiosk to support this small area, and then a putting green and some pétanque courts. So again, it's the activities that are trying to bring a bunch of new and exciting games and other sort of program activities into Greensboro. Let's just talk very briefly. These are some of the previous installations that Janet Eckelman has done. This is a permanent installation in Phoenix. These are 2 temporary installations that she's done in Vancouver and another location in Europe. Again, these are very light and airy, and these beautiful sculptures. It's really, I think, going to be an anchor, and will bring a lot of people to Greensboro to see this. It'll be an amazing crowning jewel for this park. Just to sort of have a quick diagram to talk about how the activities all kind of square up. You have this Market Square Pavilion, again, the lawn, 17,000 square feet. We think that means about 2,500 to 3,000 people. You could probably, when you take into the fact that there's groves of trees and gravel on the edge, you're probably looking at maybe 3,000 to 4,000 people for a major event in the park for New Year's Eve or 4th of July or things like that. Again, the dog park in the rear, about 4,000 square feet. That's about 30 to 35 dogs. There's a service yard in the back. It's not very glamorous, but it's where the sort of the business, the day-to-day maintenance and operations of the park is going to occur. The Fountain Plaza is a little under 4,000 square feet. We think pretty comfortably, based on our experience, that's 50 to maybe even 75 children playing in that fountain. With an 18,000 square foot children's garden. That's pretty exceptional for an urban park. We think that's very comfortably 100 children and their parents. It'll include sort of amenities like stroller parking. There's also, I totally didn't talk about it in the last slide, but there's a restroom here that supports both activities off the main event lawn, but also provides family-sized restrooms, so that if you're with your kids, you don't have to go back out to get to the bathrooms, and it's all right there for you to do. Lebauer Gardens is about 1,000 square feet. So this, again, that's that smaller, more intimate scale. The reading room at 3,000 square feet can accommodate some pretty large groups and gatherings. There's a main stormwater feature that will be an abstraction of a Carolina stone quarry here that runs along that promenade. And then all these blue areas are just additional gravel courts, different places where you have movable tables and chairs, have different kinds of games and activities. And again, it's a 4,000 square foot lawn on the south area here. So like I said, we're realigning Bellmead to try to make that stronger relationship between the Performing Arts Center. So here's an existing conditions picture as it is today, and then here's a rendering that shows the proposed condition. I think the most important distinction here is you can see that where the road currently lines up to the Historical Museum. Here it's much more tied now to where the Performance Pavilion is, be new street trees, new paving, a curbless street, so you'll be able to just seamlessly flow out of that the Performing Arts Center and into any sort of festivals or anything if the streets are closed down for a community or civic event. Moving further east down Bellmead, this is that Market Square Plaza. These are a set of small contemporary pavilions designed by Frank Herman Architects out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And these are sort of the food and beverage pavilion with the restroom pavilion. And you can see the performance pavilion in the back. And there's no color on it. Janet's work is amazing in terms of its color and detail. They're still working through all these details now, but you can get a sense of the scale and how incredibly profound the feel of the sculpture is going to be over that central lawn. And then again, Carolyn loved plants. She loved horticulture and loved gardens. We're making a really conscious effort to include plants, particularly tied to things that do the Southern garden tradition and North Carolina and some of the native plants here. So there'll be a really diverse and varied botanical experience. Center City Park is now on the left. I'm on Davie Street looking towards Bellmead. That's the Bellmead intersection here. So part of the improvements will include new streetscape improvements along Davie and then a crosswalk that will help strengthen the relationship between the two parks, which will share sort of responsibilities in terms of programming and operations. And then this is what we've been calling the hero shot. This is a sort of a bird's eye view looking to the northeast, essentially right over that crosswalk. So you can see, here's that long axis through that event lawn with the Eckelman sculpture, the Armfeld sculptures, the Performance Pavilion and Market Square Pavilions. This is the interactive water feature, which will have a thin membrane of water, and it'll have jets that turn on and off. So in the wintertime, you can turn it off. You can have special events out on the plaza. You could have, a holiday event. Any part of there could be an ice rink. A number of activities can happen here when the fountain isn't on. And then that connection, strong connection into the children's garden with that shared restroom, and then these garden courts beyond. You can even get a sense of some improvements to the restaurant terrace, and then this potential address to the Cultural Arts Center. This is looking from the eastern side of the park, looking west. This is the children's garden. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of different kinds of activities, and from a small children's area for the little 2 to 5-year-old children with a sand play area that's slightly obscured by these trees, to this sort of birthday and gathering area underneath the pavilion, to the larger kids playing area, which has a custom play structure, which is sort of like a space net structure, along with a berm and a series of slides. This is about a 6-foot change in elevation here, so kids can climb up to the top, climb up over the hill, and then come back down the slides, along with a few pieces of more conventional play equipment. And the entire children's park will be enclosed. There'll be one entry and access point, so you can take your kids in there and really have a good time and not worry about where they are, where they're, what they're getting into. It's going to be a really great and safe place. All right, and I think I've covered all the main points. Reed?
Nathan, thank you so much.
Thank
if you'll
you.
stay up here.
Okay, all right.
Before we invite the mayor up, we would be delighted to answer any questions or respond to any thing that you might want to ask us at this point. Are there questions? Right. We are so happy. It's another sign of the great cooperation that we've had on this, starting with Chris Wilson, who was Parks and Rec director when we started this, and continuing with Wade, who is working in that function now. But everybody at the city has been very engaged and very cooperative. And Mayor, that comes from your leadership all the way down. We're so lucky to have you. Thank you for coming up and telling us about what's going to happen tomorrow. Thank you. Mayor Vaughn.
I always hate to follow a lawyer and a genius. Wow. I mean, that is the first time that I had seen that presentation, and it is absolutely amazing. And I think we need to again thank the Lebauer and the Armfield families for doing what they've done for downtown. So please join me in recognizing them again. Thank you so much for your generosity. This is really going to be a gathering place for our entire community. I was really struck by the fact that she wanted an urban destination that everybody will be able to enjoy. It's going to be wonderful. There will be things for people to do while they're at work, families with their children, events at night. We have the opportunity to have stages down there for festivals. Imagine what it's going to be like, not this year, but next year when it's done and the folk festival is in town. What a wonderful premier venue that we're going to have that no other community has. I'm very excited about the sculpture that's going downtown. When Walker first showed it to me, he was so excited, and he said, you know, you've got to see this wonderful sculpture. And you know, I'm not very creative, and I think of, you know, statues when I hear sculpture. And he showed it to me. He showed me the TED Talk, and I was like, oh, interesting. And it took me about a week to really digest what it was and to look at how it has gone on in other cities. And I am so excited because people are going to come to look at that sculpture, and they are going to see the rest of our city, and they are going to see an absolutely wonderful park that is second to none anywhere in the state of North Carolina and maybe in the South. This is going to be such a wonderful place for our families to go, for people to come from out of town. So I am really excited. The big problem I have is that I am very impatient. And I know I never realized how long it took to build a park. But you know, that's a good thing because this is very deliberate. The committee that got together to build this park, they traveled to other places, and this is going to be programmed. It's very deliberate, and so I'm going to have to be patient. But I know in the end, good things come to those who wait. So I am very excited, and thank you, and I can't wait for the groundbreaking tomorrow. I hope we've softened the soil because, you know, it has certainly gotten very, very chilly lately. But thank you for coming out and for seeing this wonderful presentation, and it'll be wonderful to watch as it evolves over the next couple of months. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Nathan will be around to take any questions afterwards if there are. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.